even have to go anywhere because this is the Talk Beat Jones, and this is the Talk Beat Jones. This is the Talk Beat Jones. We're live on the Talk Beat Jones, and again, I am Billy Jones, ready to talk to you this morning. And I see I have a caller, so let's quick. Oh, by the way, we're going to put the numbers up there, and we're going to invite you to call from anywhere in the world, 313-868-4336, and the numbers will roll over, and you can join the conversation, you can interrupt the conversation, you can put in any of your thoughts when you call in to 313-868-4336, and we're ready to take your calls, and you can speak about anything that you choose to do. And so before I get started, I see I have a caller that's been waiting. I'm not sure if it's a caller from the last show or if it's just for this show. But we're going to bring her in or him in. Caller, can I get your first name and your conversation, please? Hello? Yes, caller, you're live. I'm talking to you. Okay, the caller is gone. I guess there was a hangover from the last show. It's like when you take that last little something on a Saturday night and you're doing a hangover from Saturday night and it goes into Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, whatever, then you realize, oh, I'm at the wrong show. They're gone. And yes, they're gone. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to view or hear what they talked about. But anyway, this is the Talk Beat Jones again, and I am Billy Jones. And I want to thank you for viewing us, whichever time, whichever space, wherever, on the Roku box, Amazon, the Apple, wherever. If you're watching through your telephone or if you're watching over the internet at TV33WHPR.com, we want to welcome and thank you for viewing us again. And let's go to telephone lines again. I have yet to get into a subject matter. So we're going to let you run us, put it together, and you're live. Can I get your first? I need your first name and where you're calling and how you're viewing us, if you're viewing us. Talking to you.
Mary of Oakland.
Mary of Oakland, California. You are a regular caller, and I want to let folks know that when Mary is talking, you
can't hear you too good.
You can't hear me too good. I guess that he'll increase the volume so that you can hear me a little bit better, Sean?
A little better.
Okay, because she's listening through the telephone. Okay, can you hear me now, Mary? Oh,
a little better.
Ms. Willis, I didn't know you had a
better
every time. Woo! I was
watching.
You were watching through the telephone.
Yes.
Okay, so once again, family, you can join us at any given time, and that number again is 313-868-4336. What number do you use to call us from Oakland, California, Mary?
What do I have on my mind this morning?
No, what telephone number do you use to call us from Oakland, California?
I'm not giving my phone number out.
No, I said, what telephone number do you dial to get on the air with me in Detroit?
Oh, okay.
What number do you call?
1313. What is the number? Oh, good. I forgot it just that quick. It's coming to me. 868 4336.
Okay.
Let me say good morning to everybody around the world.
Okay.
If it's morning where you at.
Yes.
And I would like to talk about the marching.
Young folks
All the
marching.
marching that was done yesterday.
The young folks marching.
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And after this, I'd like to see a march against racism. I'd love to see that one.
Go
All
ahead.
that is wonderful. We've seen marches and marches and marches. But sometimes you have to continue marching. You just can't do it one time. You know? And I saw a lot of black kids. You know, where were those black kids when we were marching? You know?
They
Just
probably
with Black Lives
they
Matter.
probably was not born. Maybe.
No, I'm talking about recently. With, Black Lives Matter and other marches.
Well, that would make them, what, 13, 14 years of age? And, it's a process that we have to understand that the ability to do these things is evolving. There was a time when the young folks didn't have a voice that they could be respected and come out and do things. We have marches out here in Detroit that the young folks have tried to put together for different issues, different situations, and they receive no positive press. They receive no positive responses from adults. And these were black children. And if anyone is willing to say, Billy, you're lying, we have a clip that is on the Malik Shabazz show in which he shows you all of these children that was marching about a cause. And the press did not get behind them. Adults didn't get behind them. And they was talking about their schools and the condition of the schools. So this is a process that has continued to evolve, and
Right.
and it's like I said, we used to call it when the horse gets out the barn. Now we've got it when the genie gets out the bottle. That we're going to have situations because now you've got young folks finding that they have power that the folks are going to have to respect. And it's just like all of the other scenarios and situations that's going on in America called copycats, where we've got all of these crimes going on, copycat crimes. Well, you're going to have all these youngsters that are going to copycat what these folks are doing in protest of their schools and the fact they're going to school and don't know if they're going to get home. So we are looking to see what our young black folks are going to do, and if the black folks and the media are going to support them when they come out and do their thing as well. Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot of grieving here in California. What happened in Sacramento, California? Two cops put 20 rounds into a black man. He was only 22. And, black children are marching up here. And, and some other people.
Well, let's do this.
I can't believe it.
Let's do this.
That they would sit on their behinds and just shoot 20
let's do this.
rounds into a
Mary,
Yeah.
before you go into that area, first of all, remember, we're in Detroit. We're coming out of Detroit. So doggone it, we don't have that particular, they didn't do a whole lot of coverage about what happened there in Sacramento, California. So before you get into the emotional perspective, how did this black man in Sacramento, in his, I don't know if it was his yard, his grandparents' yard, or whatever yard,
His grandparents.
and I did glean, and I thought someone says he was shot in the back. And the fact here again is, when you say he was shot 20 times by two officers, it reminded me of the youngster that he and his friends was in a car, and a white man said that they were playing the music too loud, and they got shot 15, 20, 30 times. So, question there is, give me some backdrop as to how and why was this youngster shot and he did not have a gun 20 times. Go right ahead. Yep.
I don't know. They said that they thought he was the one who was breaking out glass, on people's cars. Well, a lot of people will say, yes, that car, that glass, it costs a lot of money. Okay, is it worth a life?
Okay, again, I asked you before you give me the emotion, where was he when he was shot? He was in a yard, his backyard of his home or his grandparents' home. You see, you can't just give me emotions because people don't know. What?
It was a grandparents' house.
He was at his grandparents' house in the backyard.
Right.
Talking on a cell phone.
Right.
And so why would the police come and start shooting this kid in the backyard? I mean, you got to give us, people don't know what you know or what people in California know.
Well, like I was about to say, the police thought that he was the one breaking car windows.
Okay, but why would they shoot this man in the back?
You definitely have to ask them about that.
I mean, you're there, Mary. You're there. You got the reports. I know that the news have told you something. We don't know nothing out here.
Not yet. Not yet. They have a black police chief in Sacramento.
Oh.
So we're waiting, too.
Okay.
We're waiting for an answer.
Okay.
I heard it was one black officer and one white one. So we're waiting to find out what was in the officer's mind to make them want to shoot him 20 times.
Okay. Let me do something that even out here in Detroit, that we've gotten some type of news over the airways, etc., that they're saying they thought he had a gun and it turned out to be a cell phone. Also, it turns to the perspective that, and someone can correct me, that they're saying they shot him starting in the back. And I'm asking that even if he was breaking, I'm going and assuming that even if he had been the person that was breaking out car windows, why would it be such a high alarm that they've got the guns, and before they're saying drop your weapon, or if they're saying drop the weapon, and you going through the process, I don't have no weapon, and then they start firing. And this is what I've said before, these police personnel, their guns, once they touch that trigger, it's a hair trigger, and it's not where you can do like in the old westerns where you can shoot him in the gun or shoot him in the arm or shoot him in the leg. Once those guns go off. So I'm asking dang on it, how is it that these white folks can commit these horrendous crimes and can live without being shot, without being injured, etc., but the black folks can end up being shot 15, 20 times? Do you realize that the type of bullets they use would have disabled this young man, and it's not a process of trying to disable him so that he cannot be a threat, but the process there was to kill. When you're happy shooting, and you're happy shooting is what those police officers was doing. They was happy shooting. You shooting, pow, 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 and the other guy shooting, pow, 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 pow. You're happy shooting. You're not trying to apprehend a suspect. You're doing happy shooting because that was a black man, and you are using him for target practice, and it continued to come out that, hey, he ain't even had a gun. But how many times do we find that the police are doing these things? And we talk about the partnership, the code blue. How many times we seen that the police officers have had a secondary gun as it turned out, just like in the school where the officer left his secondary backup gun in the schools, and they don't talk about the fact that the police got their regular issued gun and they carry a backup gun in which some of the people that have been shot and killed, black men, have had these guns planted on them.
That's right.
But we don't hear no outrage. We don't hear no people want to march. Sacramento is the capital of California. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Huh?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Go right ahead.
But but it's also known as a sort of a racist city. You know, you have a lot of Klan. You have a lot of skinheads there.
Uh-huh.
So it could be the capital of this and that. But there's still a lot of racists up there.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm just saying, people, black people, guard your children, your grandchildren, because they're killing us off, not just men, one at a time. That's the way to get rid of you.
Well,
how many times have they said a good
well, let me
Negro is a dead one?
Well, let me say this. When I was in California at my mother's and father's home, it happened to be that I was there and I had two of my brothers there, and we were in the backyard, just like this young man. We were in the backyard at night, and we were having conversation. Didn't understand the conversation that our mother was speaking to us out of her bedroom window, looking out in the backyard, telling us that we need to come into the house. We're like, come on now, we're safe. We're in the backyard, fenced all the way in. We're in the backyard. Come on now. Why we got to come in the house? But you see, parents can have that innate ability to understand within their own self how scary even being in your own backyard can be, because a neighbor on this side or a neighbor on that side can call the police and say that we are doing something, and it could have triggered a police response, and you got 3 black men in a yard that could have caused them to do what they did to their young black man, that one black man in his own grandparent yard. This is what we're talking about. So as we're doing all this yang and going through the process, etc., and looking at who's going to be elected to this and who's going to be elected to that, etc., yeah, we talk about, I'm going to throw this out here. We talk about, I understand that Al Sharpton will be on the radio here starting, Monday, and people are citing a conversation that he had with Oprah, in which she wants to ask him, why is he so angry? Well, the bull is that they didn't get into the perspective of why he said that he was angry. It wasn't just about American society. It was about what his father did with his mother and his sister. That's what fuels his anger. Hold on, please. You're live on the Talk Beat Jones. I'm Billy Jones. Give me your conversation. Caller left. You were live, but that's okay. Thank you. So, even the media don't want to really give you the basis of what Al Sharpton is really angry about, because it's nasty. It is very, very nasty. I happen to have been able to hear an interview in which he went into the situation between what his father did with his mother and his sister, etc. But I don't want to go into that now. We'll let him come on the radio, and maybe somebody will ask him, why are you still angry? And maybe he'll maybe he'll talk about it. But Why is it, as I talked some time ago, that in Oakland, that many of the police personnel that was being recruited were actually bullies in school that took the oath to be police persons, but they continued to be bullies in the communities. And this is what we have to understand is still going on with many of the police officers. And they get off. And if you happen to pair up two officers with the same type of attitude, you're going to have this type of killing of innocent. Well, let's put it this way. A person can be guilty, but he does not or she does not deserve to be executed at the discretion of the police officer. They're supposed to apprehend that person so that that person can be put on trial. And here in Detroit, they often cite the case of a guy named Malice Green. So, Detroiters, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, then do your homework and do your history. And we're talking today, and as I tell people, I talk today, but I do know the history. Go right ahead, Mary.
Well, you said all that, but what do we do about these racist police officers? I don't understand the black ones who go along with this kind of stuff. That's the one that turns me really, really off. Well, do you hate your own people? Is that why you join the police department? I mean, where does he get off? That police officer in Sacramento, the black one, helping the white police officer destroy a black man who was only 22 and the father of two children.
But you can't just blame that officer and say, well, he's black. Throughout the history and throughout where we are today in America, we've got black officers that are shooting, killing black folk, strangling black folk, sitting back watching black folks being murdered by their partners, etc. When you put on that badge, you don't find that officers will physically restrain other officers because of their bad behavior towards, if I'm black and he's doing something that I know is wrong, I'm not going to physically restrain him. Why? Because I become a target. I can potentially become a target for the other officers in the police department. You can simply watch some of the TV series and see that officers who know officers on the force in the scripted soap operas or scripted reality shows will show you, I know you're dirty. I know you're dirty, but in essence, they won't do anything because they know they will become targets from other officers on the police force. It's nasty. It's worse than, it's like we talk about politics. And I hear people talking politics. And I hear people asking, why is it that we don't have political people passing and grooming other folks to take their spot? Why we don't have certain business people grooming folks to take their spot? It's nasty. And we've got, oh my God, I mean, we're here in Detroit. We look at a guy named Dan Gilbert, and he has a casino over here. He's bought up everything and still buying up everything, but he has a casino, used to be called Greektown Casino. He's changing the name, and folks is not realizing that the name that he's changed his casino to is his son's name. We've got a guy named Manny Maroon, who is big here, who's 90, and he got him on the front page letting everybody know he's turning his business, and who's running his business? His son. We have a guy named Illich who just recently died, who was big here. But before he died, who running his business? His son. And we have another guy named Penske that is big here, and people don't realize he has a son ready to deal with his business. So when we ask where is the black folks and what they can do, well, all you got to do is look at many of the scandals that they're knocking the black folks out of the box because they took a few dollars for what? Some luggage, for some jewelry, for some food, for some accessory items. It's a shame. But you know what? You see, when we start talking this particular type of talk, people get quiet. People get real quiet. They don't want to be identified because they know what's going on. And it's their friends, and it's their family members, but they don't want to talk about it. You know, when I hear people talk about the assassination of Malcolm X, help me if somebody can tell me that the gunman was white. Help me identify those gunmen as white. But when we go through the history of talking about the assassination of Malcolm X, folks speak on it as though white folks were the ones that shot Malcolm X. We do things to ourselves and remove ourselves and put it on somebody else. When is it that the truth comes out to light? They say in the darkness, the truth will come to the light. And that's all I be asking for, is for us to face the truth. With all of the political favor and the potential power, quote, that we're supposed to have had during the President Barack Obama's administration, when did anyone bring up the fact that this process of us black folks being 3/5 of a man, why was that not taken off the books? Why is it that every so many years they have to really vote on keeping us 3/5 of a man so we can vote? But I don't hear nobody with all these big activists, with all these big consultants, with all these big political folks speaking on that situation. And we talk about we need to have a black agenda. And then we complain about what the Democrats are not doing versus what the Republican Party is doing. If you are willing to be kicked and rolled over, then they're going to keep kicking us and rolling us over and doing what the apprentice president, Donald Trump, is able to do, give you a new message every day. And it goes back to what I spoke on, and I'll say it again, that Donald Trump, number 45, call him whatever you want to do, the president, 45, however you want to nameplate him, he is doing what he did as the Apprentice program, which was a very, very popular program. He is like the Teflon Dan. He can do anything he wants to do. He told you that. And the people who will not support him, he simply says on his cell phone to them in private, you're fired. I'm going to get someone that's going to stand up for what me, as the president, the most powerful man in the world, what I want them to do. And as we are in the public process right now, with all of the yang that goes on, we're watching him assemble the people in his administration that will do what? Everything that he wants to do. And then the news media, they have someone that attracts the viewership to them as they talk about what he's doing. They really don't care. They really don't care. Why? Because it's drawing viewership to them and their panel, and they have something to talk about and analyze day in and day out. My number is 313-868-4336. If you have something different that you want to speak on, then we'll take it, and we'd love to hear from you. But Mary, go right ahead. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go right ahead.
Okay. You talked about Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not interested in his sex life. In fact, I'm sick of hearing about it. What is that supposed to thrill America? You know, it's giving nobody a thrill. At least I'm not thrilled by it. Just be the president of the United States and not this sex god and all this craziness that's going on. We got a whole lot besides sex to worry about in this country. You know, that's what I'm saying right now. I don't want to hear about Stormy or Lightning or whatever that's going on in his sex life. People are hungry out here. People are eating cat food, dog food, and everything, and not eating it at all. And when it comes to the police, I would talk to the police officers right now and tell them, black people work too. We help pay your salary. I don't want you to ever forget that.
Mm-hmm.
We know you're run by rich and the racist or whatever you call yourself. I love the idea of police officers protecting, not shooting in the back. I love the decent police officer, but not the one that shoots you in the back.
But Mary, do you believe, as we are able to glean information from all over, that our police officers, they have some anger, they have some fear, because how many times of late are we hearing about innocent police officers being shot and killed? These are what you call a brotherhood that they have, and they are in pain as well. Of late, we're also hearing about firefighters that have died trying to fight fires, buildings, etc. We have to realize that there's a certain fear that goes on within those particular departments. There is a certain anger that goes on within the people who wear that badge. So where is the healing process when we talk about mental illness or mental depression, etc.? How do we start to come together and bring a healing process from within those folks who are in pain as well? Can you help me with that?
Well, mental illness is with us. And sometimes people will laugh at the mentally ill. And don't forget, in the next few minutes, you could become one of those people. It's not enough facilities for mentally ill people. Well, you know, Reagan started this outpatient kind of mess. And I never agreed with it, because when you send a bipolar person who could kill you out and they haven't taken their medicine, or they forget to take their medicine, who's that on?
Yeah, yeah.
Some people can deal with people in the world. when they're mentally ill. Some people can't. And you're telling these people to just go out, over here in Oakland. Black woman drowned her 3 children.
Mm.
But yet, they wouldn't let the mother, because she was 65 years old, take those children.
Well, when we speak again, because of the way our world is touched now from all parts, we get all the reports from all around the United States and outside of the United States, etc. We hear these scenarios, we hear these situations, and we wonder, when I look at babies, youngsters walking with their parent or walking with someone and they're 1, 2, 3 years of age, 4 years, and I'm looking how precious they are, and then I read in the papers or on the media how someone has taken the life from a child like that, or is raping a child like that. It just breaks my heart. But in the society that we are in today, these things are happening every day. When we have a situation out here in Detroit where I believe there was almost 30 schools that was closed, almost 30 schools. I'm not sure if it was just Detroit or Metro Detroit or something of this nature. And they were closed for, I think it was Wednesday, but I know they was closed for Thursday and Friday because of threats. And then on Friday, we're able to see in the papers that they have arrested a 14-year-old girl for one of the threats. I don't know. I really didn't get into it. But I'm just saying, in the world that we are in today, we are in these deeply troubling times for what folks old and young is able to do. Because the value that a person is willing to do a crime and suffer the consequences, they don't care if they are killed or if they kill themselves. They don't care. And we used to have a high standard for wanting to live. But again, through these video games, through some of these eccentric FX movies, TV series, reality type folks, people really have a different value to life. And the fact that if I do these particular things, I may not be a big singing star, I may not be a big acting star, I may not be able to be a great athlete, but people will remember me because I did what? And I don't have to suffer the consequences of going to jail. And some of the folks have looked at the fact that, well, society says, we're going to give you 3 to 5. If we tell you you're going to do 7 to 15, well, you're going to get off in 3 to 5 for good behavior and whatever else. And if I give you the death sentence, it's going to take you at least 10 to 20 years before I'm actually up for that sentence. If I tell you that you're going to get life, then there is always the opportunity potentially that you may get paroled at some particular point. People are not stupid in how they are going about doing what they do. They're not stupid. And we have folks that know doggone well that their daughter or their son is guilty of doing various different things, and you watch them in the courtroom. I love you. I love you. I know you killed your sister, your father, your mother, but I love you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to put money on the books for you. I'm going to come visit you because I know that you weren't in your right mind. Huh? You shoot all these people, but you got family members saying, I love you. I love you. Don't worry. You got people who love you and going to support you. So who's sicker? The person that did the crime or the person that wants to let them know, I love you. No matter what you did, how horrendous the crime is, I love you. Huh?
Well, Billy, let me put it this way. You deserve the Oscar for that one. Let me...
Well, anyway, I'm gonna get this Oscar award because Reverend Dr. Massey is here, and he's giving me the choke sign, which means I got to go.
Okay.
He's ready to bring in his holy scripture, his spirit, and his plan. So I'm going to go ahead and get off the airways and let him get busy. Remember, family, if you need that, Mary,
Yes.
and you call Cheryl and tell I love her, and let her know that hopefully we'll talk Monday night, and hopefully she'll have some conversation about the TV programming and
Will do. And let me say this. I love you all, you handicapped, disabled, whatever you want to be called. I do love you, and I really mean it without the theatrics. Okay? And Billy, you have a good day. Yes?
And Mary, I love you too.
Yeah, I love you too, baby.
Okay, we gonna see you soon. Bye bye. Family, you can call me 313-412-3111. If you want to eat that liquid bowel cell, that Jasuru, I have it. I'll get it to you, 313-412-3111. Also, the Easy Silk Hair and Skin Line products, I'm here. Take care of you. But right now, let's bring on Reverend Dr. Massey, the voice of Detroit. Talk, Beat Jones, and this is the Talk, Beat Jones.
Good morning, TV audience. This is Dr. Massey with the voice of Detroit on this wonderful TV station, WHPR, coming out of Highland Park, Detroit. We're thankful, grateful to the Lord for all that He's doing. I would like to give a shout out to Jeter's Funeral Home, located at West Chicago and Oakman Boulevard. That's Oakman Boulevard at West Chicago. Jeter's Funeral Home. You can give them a call at 834-6100. That's 834-6100. That's a 313 area code, 834-6100. Call over there and talk to Yolanda Jeter Cameron. Her parent is the one who started and found and initiated the Jeter's Funeral Home. If you've lost a loved one, just don't know what to do. Listen, she's been working with this thing for quite a while, and she knows just what to do. Again, they give her a call at 834-6100. Area code 313-834-6100. Jeter's Funeral Home. All right, we're just so grateful and thankful to the Lord for all that He does. And on last week, we began to tell you about a venue. Well, this week I got a chance to think about it a while, and we're going to just say a venue with a menu. A venue with a menu. This is very important in the hour and the time that we're living in. After my former wife died, Sister Mary Jane Massey, I began, after her death, began to write up some social ministries. And this is very important because once we get a vertical relationship with God, then we need a horizontal relationship with men. And these things just don't happen. It depends on the environment that we come out of. It depends on the culture that is in that particular environment. But you know what? we can create our own culture. I remember when I was younger, some years ago, graduated from high school in 1965 at 17 years old. Well, we had some venues with a lot of menus, and it was just great. I mean, it was a time of fun, and looked like every other week they coming out with a new dance, and everybody was getting at it and sweating and going on, and just like you was going into a gym or into a spa somewhere to get yourself physically fit. And we would dance until our clothes was wringing wet. You know, it's nothing wrong with a dance, praise the Lord, but it's the kind of dance, and it's the kind of music that you're listening to, too. You know, there's some music that's so sensual and sexual that I wouldn't advise for us to allow our kids to hear right away, because it affects you. I know it affected me. I know it affected the generation that I came out of, and I know it'll do the same thing for you. But if it's in a controlled environment, then we can make it work, because we don't have to start with the slow dance, the slow drag. Back then, we was doing the swinging out, and then we were doing the jerk. We was doing the boogaloo, and the list just go on. We were doing shotgun, shooting for Iran, and I tell you, it was a lot of dance. It was the chicken, and it was the duck, and we just went on and on and on and on. Now, none of these things were sinful. It was only sinful when we began to slow the music down and begin that slow drag. So we talk about a venue with a menu, and we talk about our people being able to really enjoy themselves. And what we like to initiate is called the dating game. Now, this is the way the dating game will work. You would put together your own resume. You would show forth also not only your resume, but your bio. You tell a little bit about yourself, because people need to know about you. And we will divide up into age groups because it's good to do it that way. So our first age group will be 18 through 24. This is the age group coming out of high school. They're going into college, and then by the time they're 24, they done finish up. They got their master's degree, or they got their nursing degree, and they're ready to go into the workplace for work. You know, a lot of kids thinking about marriage, but there's a whole lot of things that's holding them back. Number one, you got to have a source of income, whether it be work or whether it be by investment or whatever, but you got to have a source of income. How are you going to take care of that beautiful wife, and how are you going to take care of those children? You need an income. And so now you've got a job, and then two, now you're getting ready to get married. It takes some steps in order to make this thing work. So you got a job, or you got some income. Then if you got enough income, you don't have to worry about getting a house right now. But if you don't have enough income, think about a house right now. We're in a great position here in the city of Detroit where you can pick up a house for $1,000, for $500. And then just work on it until you finally get it like you want it. And you and your wife to be, your spouse, your fiance can work toward making this a reality, so that when it is time for that marriage to be consummated, you are ready to take her into this beautiful home that both of y'all will work together to make it work for not only you and her, but for the children to come. This is the reason why we need the dating game, so that we don't get too close too quick. I tell you, we got. I know what will happen. It's explosive when you get a red-blooded American and a red-blooded woman together, dancing real slow and whispering in each other's ear. Something is going to happen. Well, God designed it this way for something to happen, but God also designed that we would go through a process getting up to that point. and then consummating this whole relationship into a marriage. So first thing you want to consider is getting acquainted, know each other, because we don't want to be unequally yoked. The Bible says be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, but be not unequally yoked, period, because you need to know what her aspirations are, and she need to know what your aspirations are as well. And if they mesh together, if they come together, oh boy, you got something. But if they don't come together, one pulling one way, another pulling another way, and you'll never achieve that that's in your heart and your mind to do. But if you take your time, and you need to take your time, it can happen. Also, the other age group that we would have the age group from 25 to 31. This group by this time, they're working real good. They're making enough money to get an apartment or get a condo or to buy a house, and they're moving toward the marriage. First, let's get acquainted. And then after we get acquainted, then the next step, we started dating. But no going to bed. We won't go to bed until we walk down that aisle in holy matrimony. That's the way God wanted it to be. Sometimes we think we have to try it. Somebody said before we buy it, but you ain't buying her and she ain't buying you. You ain't no hired servant. You're going to be his wife and he's going to be your husband, and you all are going to be spouses forever, and it's until death do you part. This is a serious matter. Now the next age group is from 31 to 50. By this time you got a bank account, a checking account, and got money laid up, got some investments going. Now it won't be no strain on the marriage. It won't be no strain when the children begin to come, because you got more than enough to take care of them. So we want to initiate this dating game. We're talking about a menu with a venue, or a venue with a menu. You know, as we begin to get this into your heart, into your spirit to do this, then we're going to tell you about where the venue is going to be. And then we're going to tell you about the menu that's going to be serving there in the venue. And the last group is those who are over 50. You know, I was talking to a young lady, you know, before I got married. We was just talking. And, you know, she didn't want much out of the relationship, but she wanted some communication, somebody to socialize with, to jump on a plane and go to Paris and for breakfast, and then fly back into New York for supper in the evening. And we never talked much about the sexual part of the relationship. And that shouldn't come, again, until you go down the aisle and hold a matrimony. But it's something that you need to talk about, because you need to know what her appetite is and what your appetite is. But now, if you both virgins, you ain't got no appetite. But once y'all come together in that sensual way, and like Marvin Gaye was saying, you got a sexual feeling, then at that particular point, you have to really guard yourself, because what happens is, you know, you get to the place where you know, it's like eating some ice cream. You know, I like ice cream, but I've been holding off for these last 2 weeks, trying to get my sugar down, because I got to see the doctor next Friday, and she want to know what in the world you've been doing to get your sugar all up high. But she's going to say, what have you been doing to get it low? Well, I decided to put down the candy bars for a while, all the cakes and pies, and soda pop, and just take it easy, and go ahead and kind of take myself through a slower process, even with my eating, so that I could get there and have the end results of about 90 or 100 blood sugar. But anyway, on that last group, like I say, there's an older group, they're a more mature group. They got a bank account. They got some investments going. So you can really learn how to live. So as we progress along, I'll tell you about the venue with the menu. And then people having repasses, don't have no place to have a repass, a nice place, done lost your loved one, they done left a big old insurance policy for you, and you want to enjoy yourself. And they want you to enjoy yourself. That's the reason why they took out that insurance policy. But you need a venue with a menu so it can accommodate you and your friends during the time of your bereavement. So we'll be talking about where that menu for the venue is going to be, because it's so important for us to do what is called a socialization. And we need to go through this process, because what it does, it creates a culture. It creates something that we can leave for our children, so that they won't be guessing about what it is to do. They will know what it is to do. Also, the proms are coming up. We got a venue with a menu for that prom night. And we got schools all over the city, and so we have the space available. The prom, some of them have it on Tuesday, some Wednesday, some Thursday, some Friday, and so forth and so on. So we can make that work. I was looking at also a lot of people play cards. We're not talking about playing cards for money. You don't play it for money, it's all right. But you playing for money, you're gambling. And when you gamble, you're taking a chance. And if you're going to take a chance on Jesus. I tell you, he will resolve the situation. If you would just, instead of gambling, if you would just pay your tithes and give an offering, the Lord should try me. Prove me herewith, said the Lord of hosts. See, won't I open up the window of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you won't have room to receive it. So we don't need to be gambling. We need to be doing it God's way and being pleasing unto him, being a blessing unto our local assemblies, and in turn, God will send a blessing unto you. So we want to do some cards. We got some dirty hearts. We got spades. We got bid whiz. Well, we can have a bridge night, etc. And then we can have tournaments, chess tournament, checkers tournament, and other types of tournaments, dominoes, something so that we can continue to socialize and be there with each other. And then while we're waiting on our down in either of these games, we can put a little music on, and we can do the hustle, and we can do the swing, and we can do the ballroom dances that they do without getting into that slow drag, because what we want to do is get our life upbeat. We want to get our cardio up and working, and getting ourselves healthy. And then at the same time, we're able to do something with our friends. So we're going to have this venue with a menu. When I look at the scripture and saw the first miracle in which Jesus did at Cana of Galilee, that was a place, a venue with a menu. And one thing that happened, they ran out of wine. And when they ran out of wine, Jesus was able to turn the water into wine. And yes, Jesus drank wine. There's nothing wrong with having a drink, but it is something wrong if we go to the point of getting drunk, because ain't no drunk going to make it into the kingdom of God. So we should do it in moderation. God won't be mad at us. We might have some of these other people who, holy rollers, may get mad at us, and we shouldn't be drinking none at all. This is true. If that you got somebody in your group who's an alcoholic, you should never drink any alcohol, period, around that guy, and tempt that girl or guy to want to drink some alcohol, because all it takes for them is one drink, and they're on a binge again. They're going over the hill. So if drinking wine around my friend who is an alcoholic and who's trying to recover from alcoholism, if it's going to offend him, then I will not drink any wine as long as I live. Not around him. If I want to drink a little bit, I do it in my own home with me and God alone. That way I will not have to offend my friend. So we're talking about a venue with a menu for all of our functions, for all our affairs. You're talking about having a seating capacity and being able to serve a group of 50 up to a group of 1,200. We're looking at this real closely, and we are going to bring it into a reality. But somebody said you got to see it before you see it. And that's what we're doing now. We're stretching it out with you in faith. Because I know you got your family reunion coming up and don't know where you're going to have your affair, where you're going to have that banquet, a place where you can dance and rejoice. Somebody said when Jesus come into our life, the shackles is broken off our hands and our feet, and now that we can dance. So we need to dance. We need to rejoice in the Lord. And again, I would say unto you, let us rejoice in the Lord. We will put together that venue with a menu. And as we progress along, as we move toward the target, we'll be able to share with you where is that venue that has that menu. So we're working on it. And if God will, in a few days, in a few weeks, before you have your family reunion, we'll be set and ready to rock and roll and have a venue with a menu. We thank you so very much for tuning in on this morning and being with us. And God bless you. I want to shout out to my wife, Yolanda. We want you to know we love you. We're going to tell the world we love you, girl. And God be with you in a special way. We love you out there. We'll be back next week if the Lord will, if the creek don't rise. We'll be back here in this studio telling you about the venue with the menu until finally we get this thing consummated so that we can be a blessing to you. And then on Saturday is really the Sabbath day. Today is not the Sabbath day, but now a lot of us think the day is the Sabbath day. Saturday is still the Sabbath day, and it has not changed. Well, somebody said, well, that was for the Jew. Well, I want you to know it was for the Hebrews, not the Jews. It was the Hebrews in which God gave the Sabbath day to. It was a day of rest. Some of us would work ourselves to death if we didn't have a day of rest. God ordained a day of rest so that our body can recuperate, so that we can go far and along as we go along in this world. Well, we want to tell you we are grateful unto you for listening in this morning. And remember, we're going to put together that venue.
This is
with
the
a menu. And,
Talk
so
Beat Jones.
You may be happy as we are happy here on this morning. God bless you. We love you. And we'll see you next week. Lord will, and the creek don't rise.
This is the Talk Beat Jones